ever met the Boogyman before? No, of course you haven't, for you're much too good, I'm sure. Don't you be afraid of him if he should visit you. He's a great big coward, so I'll tell you what to do. Hush, 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 here comes the Boogyman. Don't let him come too close to you, he'll catch you if he can. Just pretend that you're a crocodile, and you will find that Boogyman will run away a mile. Say shoo shoo and stick him with a pin. Boogyman will very nearly jump out of his skin. Say buzz buzz, just like the wasp that stings. Boogyman will think you are an elephant with wings. Hush, 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 here comes the Boogyman. Tell him you've got soldiers in your bed, for he will never guess that they are only made of lead.
Danger. Provide a life jacket and a lesson against letting fear take control. The Splash by Skunk Artworks, launching September 6th.
And now, it's showtime.
Down to business. I got my wild cherry Diet Pepsi, and I got my blackjack gum here, and I got that feeling. Yeah, that familiar feeling that something rank is going down out there.
Worrying about ghosts and goblins.
Gutter.
The gutter. The gutter. It's a nice sound.
Gutter. Gutter.
Good. You're not coming home.
Where can I go then?
You can Go to the gutter where you belong, you filthy pig!
The stuff that dreams are made of. Huh?
Huh? Greetings! Welcome to the gutter. Everyone ends up here eventually. It is only a matter of time. Submitted tonight for your disapproval, a pair of stories, not of fangs and fur, as with Monsters Unleashed, or with the creepy silent imagery of cinema panopticum, or the gore of the aptly titled Gore Shriek. Tonight, both of our books resurrect terrors of the subconscious and the fabric of our modern myths. We live in a world where monsters no longer stalk through candlelit castles, crumbling with the cascading convalescence of time, but the vultures of mass media that circle over old IPs and even older ideas as if they were carrion. In this age of the dull glow of the backlit screen and rotting digital consumption, the true monsters aren't lurking under our respective beds or in our closet. They're the ones adapting the very stories that once warned us about them. Reboots of nightmares, photocopied so many times you can barely tell the source material, reference upon reference, that eventually the footnotes become longer than the story itself. Everything feels sanitized, cleaned of originality, and repackaged in a shinier box than last time. This isn't just a cash grab, it's something far darker. And therein lay the real horror. And here's the biggest kicker, the rub, if you will. Everyone knows they're doing it. The twisting of timeless tales into a cheap spectacle, void of the original creative spirit, and leaving it drained, dry, nothing but a desiccated corpse of what was once a brilliant thing. When IPs become commodities, they cease the requirement to hide in the closet or under our bed, because the real monsters are the ones that are making the deals. Where do all these things come together? Well, tonight, here in the gutter. JP, how you doing, man?
Oh, good, man. I had a pretty full week. Got some new glasses, registered to vote. Hey, that's a reminder to you in the audience. Your deadline to register to vote is coming up soon. So make sure you do, because otherwise, speaking of creepy, spooky tales, you will be voting after you're dead and in the ground. So you might as well get those in while you're still living.
Exactly. Good call, man. Good call. Let's greet the chat, see what we got going on here. Going up to the top, we have Hojo joining us. Good evening, gentlemen. Well, good evening. It's fucking Hojo live and in the chat. Broken Compass Comics has joined us. Great to see you, man. Always a pleasure. Snuggy Jr.'s there. We got Henry Bemis, as always. What's happening, folks? And scrolling down, who else we got here? Hostman's Lounge. There he is. Hello, Gutter. Watching the original Twin Peaks tonight. Are you watching the pilot or are you watching the actual series? There's a difference there. Or are you watching Fire Walk with Me? Or are you watching Fire Walk with Me, the extended cut? To all this in Raiden, word count ratio is currently 763 to 1. Somebody is keeping track, Raiden. That's awesome.
Good.
Vote us, vote us, vote us, says Hostman's Lounge. I'm assuming he meant vote US, but Quiet Red Media has joined us. And let me tell you this, man. Like, it is a rare day that you actually get something that lives up to the hype. Now, I haven't read it yet, so I can't talk about the content. But I did get my copy of Black Rose Omen Dark Ballads Volume 1. And man, I am impressed with the publication on this. It's an actual sewn bound hardcover. It's got nice hardstock pages on the front and the back, like in the front and the back matter before you get into the meat. The print quality is really good. I flipped through it. Like I said, I haven't read anything yet, but man, for 210 pages of prose by some really damn good authors. And there's I won't go into that, but there's a couple of people that I'm not sure why they were included, but I haven't read their stuff yet. But either way, $18 for this thing, Amazon, 210 pages. Go check it out, man. You can't beat it. At least for the quality. I don't know about the content, but for the quality, I've been very impressed so far. And, overall, Quiet Red's really consistent. So, got to check it out. Gooch has joined us. Yo, what's up, everybody? Great to see you, man. And if you haven't, go check out Gooch's channel, man. He is absolutely killing it over there.
Yeah,
I think he's
Sunday Night Show.
Yeah, he's over like, what, 15,000 subs now? It's amazing. But either way, good guy, great show. always has got something interesting to talk about. Their X-Men series for the animated X-Men was really good. I enjoyed it. Quiet Red says, appreciate it, man. Yeah, no problem. Of course, man. I am here to speak about quality. We talk about those things that we love. And I also wanted to ask a favor of anybody that's watching the show. I came across this on the Twitter feed. Abandoning rationality, he opts for a clear-headed Kojakian approach. 2 things here. 1, Kojakian is now going to enter my lexicon. I'm shocked that I've made it this long without using that on a regular basis. Number 2, I desperately need to know what comic this is from. So somebody, if you have the time and you have the talent, please, by all means, let me know where this is from.
I'll go ahead and throw out my guess. There are a lot of not real comic panels floating out there, and I'm going to throw my weight behind that is not actually what was written.
I think it's just absurd enough that is probably from a late 70s comic.
Because I think back to that one of, oh, dang it, who was it? Yeah, where's my,
hey, Dracula, where's my fucking money? Yeah. But the best part about that is it's believable, because from that era of Moon Knight, it fits. But either way, tonight we've got another twofer for you. We will be talking about the Boogyman, released by Ablaze Comics. Now, Ablaze, interesting. Before I get into the Ablaze, the other one is Image and Skybound's Universal's Monsters Frankenstein. I'm going to warn you right off the top. There's positives to both of these books, but neither are a recommend from me. Raiden, do you want to spout out now, or do you want to wait until the end for your vote on that?
No, I mean, that's fine, because we both have goods and bads, and, it's all about the journey, and that's what giving reviews and impressions is all about.
There you go. So yes, we are talking about the Boogyman from Ablaze Comics. Here's Ablaze's screen. This is the other thing that's weird about Boogyman, and kind of going through some of Ablaze's other stuff. This seems different than everything else they have, and I'm half curious, because of the creative team involved, and we're going to get into that, if this wasn't something that was pitched in their home country and didn't land and ended up over here and translated. And we'll get into why we think that too. But it is the Boogyman. It is not this fantastic book, which is Boogyman Comics. This will definitely come up on the gutter sometime. But I do want to clarify, we are not talking about Boogyman Comics. This is going to be saved for probably Man, I think this will probably have to go in Underground Comics episode 3. I haven't done another episode on Underground Comics since last year, actually, and I need to get on that. It's just, it's a very research heavy topic, and I haven't had a whole lot of time in the last, 13 months or so. But in any case, we'll get right into it. We got the Boogyman. Actually, I'll let you choose, JP. Do you want to do the Boogyman first, or do you want to do Frankenstein?
I think Frankenstein, because it'll be a much quicker one.
All right. So Frankenstein, let me scroll down to my notes here. Michael Walsh is the writer and artist on this, and he's referred to as a visionary, and I'm not sure why, but it's a new version of the horror classic, and it's really, in my opinion, it's not really an adaptation of, and I don't know what your thoughts are here. I don't think this is an adaptation of Mary Shelley's work. This is an adaptation more of the original film. But here's the book. We'll pull that up. And then there are, of course, because it's 2024, a host of fucking variants. So yeah, we got that. Here's Michael Walsh. This is the creator and writer of it. He looks just about as pretentious as you'd think after you flip through this book. There are positives. Starting off, page 1 definitely sets the mood. I like the use of negative space in panel 3 right off the bat. It's really doing a good job.
Hang on, can we go back to the creator? That shirt, I just need to take a better, like, why is he dressed like a janitor? Is that janitor chic?
I don't know. I'm assuming he's without digging too deep into it. I would almost guarantee that this guy lives somewhere in either the Northeast or the East Coast.
Okay, I was gonna guess Portland. I
That's
mean,
what
he looks like he's not.
I meant the Northwest. Sorry. Yeah.
Even though he's getting published, he's not doing all that well financially, and that is actually his work uniform.
There you go. The I had to do a double take when I first grabbed the picture because I thought the zipper was like a priest collar, and I'm like, what the hell? But no, it's just a zipper. So yeah, I don't know. You ever wonder, like, is this the absolute, like, this is how you want to be presented? Because this is like one of his actual photos for his publicity.
Right.
Like, this is what you chose. Like, the publisher usually sends out a camera guy, and like, this is what you picked. Really?
I mean, I can't really comment on that. I think I've worn basketball shorts for the past like 700 days in a row.
Right. Hojo over in the chat points out something that is very important, and that is, if I could scroll to find it, and the chat just jumped on me. I am really getting tired of StreamYards. Man, this just lost all of its impetuous. In any case, Hojo called Broken Commas a fairy, and it was funny.
Oh, okay.
But it was fairy, Ferry, because he was tying into the Shell Beach question. In any case, we've got. The description was downright Kojakian. There you go. I fart in Dynamite's general direction. I like it. He looks like I was raised Catholic, but oh my God, excellent call, Hostman.
Let me ask you this: while we have the word Kojakian nearby, what would you prefer, Kojakian or Lansburyan?
Ooh, Lansburyan is good. Although, dude, Angela Lansbury she kicks ass in the Frank Sinatra adaptation of Michael Condon's Catch-22. Or not Catch-22, Manchurian Candidate. My God, how did I get that wrong? It's been one of those days, folks. I don't know why I watched that stream. They ignore me. Yes, that's why we're reading your chat right now.
So anyway,
in any case, apparently awesome ones here. Moving on. We're going to go right into Frankenstein. And like I said, page 1, I think they did a good job of establishing the tone, but it becomes very clear early on that they are not really doing much more than adapting the film. So what were your thoughts, man?
I actually thought that what they were doing was setting up this book to bring the reader in, and the kind of not the cliffhanger, but like the end of the book is a kind of jumping off point where they could conceivably take it in like a bunch of just different, really stupid, dumb, gay directions.
Yes, I would agree with that, and we will be getting there. Apparently, Awesome One was talking about another stream. Oh, well, thank you, then. I appreciate that. Thought you were throwing some shade at us, and we try to engage the chat as best we can, unless I am guestless, in which case those are usually soliloquy episodes where I've desperately gone through a bunch of research and I'm retardedly autistic and I'm just focusing on that. Snuggy Jr. says Angela Lansbury was smoking in Murder, She Wrote. And that right there is why Snuggy Jr. isn't really trusted.
Hey, Murder, She Wrote's great if you want to see more Jerry Orbach. He pops up in that show.
Jerry Orbach does pop up frequently.
Yeah. In my headcanon, that's Lenny Briscoe earlier before Law and Order.
Oof. Henry Bemis is brutal tonight. Snuggy was in a passionate throuple with Angela Lansbury and B. Arthur. Please, chat, do not get Snuggy started on B. Arthur, because once that engine started, it doesn't stop for days. Oh no! Did Dale A drop the Someday Tell Action Comics number 560 Keith Griffin Ambush Bug backup story is Kojak? Are you serious? That's it? That is fantastic. Thank you so much, man. A+ work, man. A+ work. In any case, so I like the atmosphere of this book. I really like I hated the story. Like, I hated the story because you've got something like, how do you do a Frankenstein book and not open up in the Arctic with them finding Victor Frank and then tell the story in reverse? Like, that's the best part of the book in my mind. Like, it's no different than like At the Mountains of Madness. Part of the reason that's so fantastic is you've really, I mean, for those of us stuck here on terrestrial Earth, which Elon is doing everything he can to, broaden our horizons, there's really only two mysteries left, right? You've got the poles and then the bottom of the ocean. And I think the bottom of the ocean is excellent setting as well, and it's explored beautifully in Rick Remender's Low. But man, when you start a story in a place that you've never seen, all you have references pictures, and it's so isolated, the setting works so well to just wrap around isolation and that baseline that you need for horror. I mean, all you need to do is look at The Thing by John Carpenter, and you see that. And I think that's such a great opening. That
Oh, the Poles. I thought you were talking about Polish people.
Well, them too. We get a little bit of front matter, and then we get this really nice title screen, except for the inset panel. I hate the inset panel. I don't understand why it was included. It ruins the essence of this image, and it takes away. It doesn't help eyeline. It doesn't help readability. It's a double page splash, for the love of God. And you've got a really nice title block that's kind of a throwback in its style. I mean, as soon as I saw that, I'm like, man, that's gold key for sure right there. They're doing a good job with that. And as we flip through the book, we see a lot of this. We're doing a lot of stacked panels, and again, this goes back to setting tone and setting melody, and we're hammering away. We're doing a good thing. I like what they're doing, but the story just is. It feels empty. It feels just like a standard introduction. And with a topic like Frankenstein, there's so many different ways you could take it. But no one has ever really done, or at least not recently, done a really nice, clean adaptation of it. It's always taken off into some weird, strange direction. And I get the impression already that's what they're doing here. The tonal shift on this page, I did want to mention it. As much as I hate the story, I love the imagery here. And again, the beat progression, the melody that we're establishing on the page, I like everything that's going on. I like the transition from the dark to the green inside the castle. It just feels a little heavy. It feels like that transition could have been made a little bit better, because from here on out, when we're in the castle and it's green, and the artwork, the imagery, fantastic. We get some great panels with everything you want and sound effects on this. Again, the story is just kind of lacking. It's being told through this kid's view who lost his dad. Frankenstein has, of course, dug up his dad, and he's basically just stealing him for the hands. You get the classic look here, very Teslian, to coin a word. Love it. I like everything about it. But again, it's just this, every time this book kind of hits, like, you get this great middle section of this page. I loved this, but we get a nice build-up. We get Victor Frankenstein. It's alive. Love the lettering. Love the extension, breaking the gutter, overlaying on the previous panel. I love everything about it. And then we do this like fade to dark. And the book never really comes back to this point. And this is kind of in the midsection. And we get some nice shadow work. But again, we've lost something after this. And this is how it ends. And this is the implication. Like you were saying, we get that suggestion that they could take it in a number of different directions. It's a good hook. You're kind of interested for where this is going, but this is not a buy for me. It's just, it's weak.
Is it? So I don't know. Maybe you can help me out here, but I wasn't a fan of the pages that had a bunch of different panels, because for my, if what you're doing is just establishing tone and a change in setting, I think there should be fewer larger images. I think that your pages that have a lot of panels should be for when you're conveying a lot of information. And so that was just a pretty huge miss for me, is you're effectively changing the scene and you're transitioning, and you have like 9 panels, or 6 to 9 panels on a page, and not a lot is really happening. And so for me, I wasn't nearly as big a fan of the kind of the art direction in this book.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pages that are duds. There's a lot of pages that are really good. Basically, the pages I've shown you so far are the positives of this book. The rest is, it's not filler. It's just, it doesn't rise to the occasion. The book is very dark. Its use of color is pretty good. not exceptional, but they do a good job. Again, I think the best page in the whole book is this one right here. I think this is absolutely. It's really a shame that they didn't go with this format of the standard 9-panel grid more in this book. I would have liked to have seen more. For those of you that had the motorcycle driving by Raiden's house on this bingo card, congratulations.
Mm. I think I'd also like to see. I like the use of color and essentially going from a pinkish purple to green, but I think it would have been better if it was a complementary color, like
Yeah, I
purple
could
to
see that.
yellow.
I could see well, it is a yellowish green in their defense,
Mm.
but yeah, I do coincide with you. But yeah, so that's Frankenstein from Image and Skybound. You can get this pretty much everywhere. I've stopped in 3 shops in the last week. Every shop had it still a couple issues on the shelf of one form or another. It's running for about 6 to 8 right now. For the variants that I've seen left, I'm sure if you dig, you can probably find it for 5 to 6 online. It won't drop in price for probably another quarter, and then it'll drop back down, or at least until I don't know
Ugh.
if this is going to a second printing or not. Usually, once it goes to if it goes to second printing, the first prints will always go up in value,
That cover,
as you'd
man.
expect.
It looks like it's
I
a
hate this
really,
cover, man.
yeah.
Too.
It looks like a really shitty rockabilly album cover, and that reminded me that rockabilly exists, and now I'm just pissed off.
Yeah. See, I don't mind rockabilly, but to me, this is like a bootleg that you'd buy from some hippie on the street after you walked out of a Reverend Horton Heat concert, and it just
Mm.
it offends me on a fundamental level. Like it's Frankenstein. It's supposed to be terrifying. The last thing I want associated with horror are, you know what I think? Daisies. Let's put daisies. That makes sense. So yeah, it's just meh.
Somebody made a T-shirt and then they put it on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's weak. But our other selection for the evening is, as previously mentioned, from Ablaze Studios, is the Boogeyman. Now, this is a mixed bag if ever there was a mixed bag. This is the brainchild of Matthew Salvia. He was born in '82 in Bondy, France. In 2011, he published his first short story in a Broom collection, and a few years later, he signed 7 Heroes. He worked with a couple other authors. Today, he is currently a lawyer. He specializes in intellectual property law in France, and he devotes his days to court and his nights to working on comic projects. The artist on this book is Dejet, given name Robert Stefan. He grew up being inspired to be an artist. He began by imitating cartoons and magazines he liked, specifically Disney. Then he graduated on to Aqua Blue by Oliver Vatin. In his 20s, he apprenticed as an animator, refining his style, and he's influenced heavily by manga. And you will see that throughout this. He has, in multiple interviews, cited that Death Note and Bakuman, as well as One Punch Man, are some of his favorites. His passion, though, is mixing modern characters with legendary fantastic monsters. Before we get into the book, I did find this interesting. Dejet, in an interview prior to the release of this, which we'll get into when it was released as well, said, "Concerning the beginning of this project, I can tell you that it was a human connection and a friendship with the author Matthew Salvia. We didn't really know each other outside of social media, and he contacted me one day with this idea he pitched in a few sentences. I think something clicked in my head, and I must have said, okay, that works for me. I like your story. Next, I think I must have read at least a dozen versions and rewrites of this project. You know the result. We put an enormous amount of energy into it." So, and here in the comments, we've got Hostman saying, "Death Note's art style is great, but the story, meh." I've never read Death Note, but if that's the case, they hit it out of the park with an homage to their inspiration, because that sums up this book. There are moments of absolute brilliance in these 6 issues of art. The writing is not good at all. I don't know. Would you even call it good in a young adult context, Raiden?
Are we talking about the art or the whole book?
Just the book, the writing.
Oh, I mean, the writing is. Hang on, I'm trying to find my words here. It is incredibly sloppy and immature, and it sounds like just a very immature. The way an immature adult tries to sound adult is how I would describe it. So,
Yeah, I was shocked. I thought for sure that the writer of this book would be in their late 20s or early 30s.
yeah,
But for this guy being of our generation, it kind of shocked me. Like
yeah,
this shows. Now, granted, he's a lawyer by day, so you know two things immediately. He has no soul, and this isn't his primary focus. So I can kind of see that it's just a juvenile amateurish attempt. But dude, I've seen amateurs across the board in the indie scene produce better writing than this.
yeah. And just a small correction. I think the artist would. I think his name would be pronounced just Jet.
Just Jet? Okay. I don't know. Them fancy Frenchmen and their consonants.
Well, it's similar to the word gent, which is a very progressive hard rock metal genre known for its very deep toned guitars.
Gotcha. Well, excellent save to redeem your masculinity.
Mm.
Okay, so Boogeyman. Here's cover 1. Issue 1 was released in September of 2022. Issue, which, you know what, let's do something different. By the way, all of these Boogeyman issues, they're $1 to $2 books. You can get the full trade if you are so inclined. I don't recommend it. It is available on Amazon, 184 pages for $15. There's some interesting things throughout this. If you're an artist that really, or somebody that really likes this art style as we're going through it, it might be something you want to pick up, but it's not one that you're going to reread. Hell, it's probably not one you're going to read. Because if you're at least like me, you're going to get about halfway through issue 1 and get angry that you selected this for a review on your YouTube show. John's Longbox has joined us. Great to see John.
I mean, to be fair, I selected it, so, you know.
That is true. I did give you options, but I was the one that gave you the options. And it's weird because I actually, this one was selected because I have a good friend of mine that I recommended Rumble to, the John Akrudi book from Image. That's from, 20 years ago. I think 20 years. Either way, it's a great book. We're going to cover it here eventually at some point because the first volume is so fantastic. But he recommended this to me a few months back. So it was on the list, so I thought it'd be one we could check out. Hostman's Lounge says, we should do an episode on Junji Ito's Frankenstein. Cool, man. If you can, shoot me a DM to remind me about that, and we'll check it out. But digging in, this is the art style that you're looking at, and I guess let me spend a moment without ruining too much. The primary character in the story is Elliot. He's a young boy whose parents were brutally murdered. He's extremely traumatized, but can't seem to speak about it very much. But I was actually hooked by these opening 4 pages. And I want to talk about it. The shadow work is really good.
Yeah.
But it's the reveal in page 4 that got me hooked. And then, man, they lost me almost immediately afterwards. So we're in a clinical setting. You've got this bright, happy room that's just like over the top. And obviously a psychologist is, dealing with the kid. Decent story paneling, nothing exceptional. Moving to page 2, you see the other side of the mirror. I like the color work. The room was nice and bright. The backside's bathed in red. I like that. We move a little bit more into the story. We get some nice angles. Here's one of the problems. All of the angles you're seeing so far are going to be repeated over and over and over again. It's like they only had like 4 camera angles to use, and those are the ones that they use repeatedly. But it is page 4 that I think hits the hardest because this is where I was hooked. I loved this. This was a great splash. It's a great introduction. I'm hooked. I'm in. And then it loses me. Now, that being said, a couple pages later, you have a really cool introduction to a character. that could have been amazing and then gets lost, again, like you were talking about, in these exposition panels that serve no point. Really nice Exorcist like inspired opening with the street lamp in the house and the back shot from the back of the figure for panel 1. Panel 2 does nothing for me. There's not a whole lot of dialogue in panels 3 and 4, or even the inset that's doing much for me. But the page turn and the reveal, like, I love panel 2. And then especially the last panel. Like, I'd love to see these 2 pages combined into one where all of that happens at once. And that's a theme throughout this book for me that I just get frustrated with. That over and over again. And again, this also goes back to when we talked about Ghost Machine and the Rook book. We're going to get into a lot of, you'll see all this white space. There's no reason for this white space because in the preceding page, it's black. We now have black. Why are we jumping from black to white? We're still outside. We're not in an interior shot. There's no reason for it. Why are we being inconsistent with our background color? Is it minor? Yes. Does it annoy me? Absolutely. Cover for book 2. Book 2 was released in October of 2022. Again, we've got some great pages. There's some really good dynamic action in these.
Dynamism.
Dynamism. That's the word I was going for, but couldn't find at the moment. Thank you. I am getting a little frustrated again with the background consistency and these really inconsistent gutter lines around the inset panels. But I like the action. I like the shot of the action. You've got a nice upward shot. Again, get used to this. You're going to see it a lot.
Yeah,
and then we get a reversal in the same exchange. I liked the reversal. The dialogue here was okay, but it just it I don't know, you can probably put it in better terms than me. Again, it doesn't fit.
Are you talking about the dialogue or
the dialogue? The
Okay.
writing here is just it's a shame because, like Henry Bemis even says, I like the art. Dude, I loved the art of this book.
Yeah.
This is not a style I usually like. I liked the art.
I'll say I really like the art, but the thing that really bothered me was the lack of attention to character design. There were a lot of pages where if I have to kind of like lean back and like take a minute to really discern who is who, then you've kind of failed at character design. Like it's not memorable in the way that you can look at any page of, like, you can take Seven to Eternity and just drop it, and whatever page it opens up to, your eye immediately recognizes the characters if you've read it before. That's not how it is in here. And there's a lot of different characters. They just don't have very interesting designs.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The inconsistency, I think, is part of the artist's style based off of some of the other things that I've looked. I think he's kind of a free flow and just you'll get it.
Yeah.
But Father Death is the primary character that we're looking
Right.
at here. And Father Death, man, in almost every issue is a little bit different.
Yes.
Dale A says, art reminds me a bit of Phil Hester. Excellent call. That's a good call. It is Hester-esque, as they say. That is an excellent call out. In fact, man, I should have called that out. I do like some things, but man, here we go again with these just awful spreads. And I don't understand the dead space on the upper right-hand corner and the lower left-hand corner. These feel like pastiched panels on a page that are just put together for this inane dialogue that drags.
Yeah.
And
the other thing that just absolutely kills me is how the kid is written, where in one page he'll be talking, you'll think you're reading the words of like an 8-year-old, and then on the next page he sounds like he's 17, maybe 19.
Yeah. Eric Grant has joined us. Great to see Eric Grant. And Eric Grant says, Aldous, my head hurts already. Don't show me this. Well, okay. We'll move on to something that's much worse. Issue 3. And again, the covers for these are fantastic. And the art in general, again, I can't emphasize this enough. There is good art here in these 6 issues. This issue was released in November of 2022. Again, we get some nice dynamic panel work that I liked, but because there's always a but when you're this deep in a story, you can already see the art style has lost a lot of detail, and that will continue because apparently we no longer give a shit. We're on issue 3, and we're not going to pay any attention to detail. I liked this. I liked the rotating inset panels. It was a nice touch, but again, and it kind of fits the story with it getting a little bit sloppier in how the gutter lines work and how the panels blend. But man, that third inset panel of the just is bad. And then we go to this, and again, you can already see, I mean, if I go back to this, as much as I hate this panel, it's sharp and there's nice line work and it's accurate and it's portraying. And then we get into this, and I'm not sure what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
We seem to have lost it. And then we go into issue 4. Issue 4 was December of 2022. And this was my favorite panel of the entire book. I loved this shot. It's a beautiful shot to open it. Absolutely great. It's just wasted because it doesn't do anything.
Mm.
And then we got a couple other really nice panels. I liked this layout. Again, tons of white space. We love just putting lots of gaps at random intervals that serve no point everywhere in this book, because that's the new style, and God damn it, we're going to do it.
Yeah, throw in a sexy lady and you'll barely see her again.
There you go. And that's pretty much it. And then we get this again. We've got tons of white space because why not? In fact, you know what we're going to do? Because we've been so inconsistent with our backgrounds of being black or white, let's just do half the page black and half the page white. And then
that's an homage to the black and white cookie.
Oh, there you go. But this is just irritating. I don't understand how editors can let this kind of crap go, because it bugs my eye.
Well, also the character on the black half is black.
Thank you, JP. I don't think anybody else would have noticed that. Issue 5. Issue 5 was released in January of 2023. This was extraordinarily interesting because up to this point, we have used multiple different insets and overlay panels to completely waste space on the page. This was the first time they decided to go with an angle to do it. So I thought it was worth talking about because that's fantastic. I mean, how can we absolutely draw the smallest amount possible without doing anything that benefits the story?
You need 4 panels to open a door.
Absolutely. And you know what we need? They need to be pitched at an angle like a trapezoid. That's what we need to do, because that somehow suggests something. We don't know what, because there's no benefit to it, but it does something.
Of the door of an open door?
Yes. And this issue had your favorite page on it, JP.
Oh, yeah. This was boy, do I like repeating things in dialogue. Like it's a episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I mean, what could be better than that? My help, you need my help, and you ask for my help? Is that a fucking joke? Is this a fucking joke? Awful. Playoffs?
Yes, I agree. It is very Jim Mora-esque.
Moravian?
Moravian. I award you 1 gutter point for Moravian. The final issue of this absolute travesty, February of 2023. This also had a couple of good panels, and then it had this.
I like this a lot. I like this as an idea.
As an idea, it's awesome.
That there is a massive fight happening, and there are people in the room, and none of them can see it because it's not happening in our plane of reality.
Right, I like the idea, but the execution is awful.
Yeah,
like this.
This finale is taking all of the ideas set up through 5 issues and resolving them in the dumbest way you can possibly imagine. Like, you think that there's this great epic thing from the past that's happening, and it's just like, I got really sad and I stopped eating and I just didn't want to hurt people anymore. You taught me a lesson about your dumbass book about raising a dog.
Yes. But it doesn't end there, folks. We've also got this. I think this is even worse than this. Because at least this, there's like the checkerboard work on the tile for the tile, excellent. I like it. I like the idea. This is just bad. Like just and maybe it's the manga influence, but
Don't
this
you
is
like the great final villain design of a goth, a 23-year-old goth wearing a red button-down shirt?
with red eyes. You know why he's a villain? Because he's got red eyes. The good guy's only got one red eye. See, so he's in between.
Oh, he's bi.
Yeah, there you go. And then we go to this. This I did like. I liked this. This goes back to what we've talked a lot about. Beats and measures. Like I liked this page. And this is what was so incredibly infuriating about the book. If you just stopped reading it and flipped through the pages, some of the art is like, man, this is good. This guy gets it. But it's like he gives a shit and then stops giving a shit throughout every issue. And it's just the start and end points of where I've started and stopped of giving a shit varies. Sometimes it's in the beginning. Sometimes it's in the middle. Sometimes it's at the end. I don't care. You're going to buy it no matter what. And like, this is a good page. We get an emotionally moving moment, a nice tender pause, the embrace, and then the full focus on it with the light. I like it. And then we get the worshiping of the blank space, which, like, dude, the same guy that drew this and spent the time to do the light sourcing and the angle and the pitch did this. And is it kind of creative because of like the broken panels? Sure. Does it work? A little bit, but not as good as this.
Yeah, I mean, the second one, it looks like that kid just ripped the most heinous fart cloud.
Yeah, it does do that. And then we get this, which again, like I don't understand why we're gonna establish panels and then break panels and do this overlay thing that doesn't work because it's just a blanket sheet of white. They're not in the void. We don't need anything. We don't need this. Like, what is going on here? Not with the context of the story. I'm talking in the context of the art.
Yeah, I mean, it's like going on a lovely picnic in a forest made of AIDS.
Yes, I would agree with that. Let's see what the chat thinks about everything that we just went through. Greetings to Belmont Press and Corey Barton, who joined us. Corey Barton entered and said, LOL. Great to see you, Corey. Too giving or not too giving, says awesome one. Hostman says, whoever edited this needs to take some graphic design classes. No argument. No argument at all.
Yeah, like the writing is just it's so like flames on the side of my face. Every idea that is conveyed in the book through the dialogue, it takes so long to get there, and it's so clumsily spilled out.
Yes, I know. We're going to take a brief intermission while JP gathers his thoughts.
Frankenstein never scared me. Marsupials do, 'cause they're fast.
And now, back to the show.
All right. Now that you've had a chance to recompose yourself, of these two books, and granted, one was 6 issues, and the other is just a single issue, are there any redeeming qualities other than the art in Boogyman at times?
Yeah, I mean, maybe you could Frankenstein stitch these books together and have something that's pretty to look at if you just tore the pages out of both. But I mean, you would still have to take white out to most of the dialogue. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
So what do you think it is? I mean, because both of these books had problems with their dialogue, and both of them featured children. Both of the children don't speak like kids speak. but one's in the modern age, one's in, Victorian era, Edwardian era, however you want to classify it. Both of them don't have any resonance to me. It's like that it's just speaking with a modern voice, and it doesn't
Which is
work.
hard to do with kids, you know what I mean? Because we all on some level want to connect with children in a meaningful way in stories, because we all want to be able to return back to that time and see the world through those eyes. So the soul craves that kind of connection, but this is just, it's such a big miss.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. I don't understand either, because as far as I know, like the Universal Monster, they're doing this all under Universal Monsters, and Universal Monsters are still under IP control, so they had to shell out money to say that they're the Universal Monsters. But I don't get why this is the foot you put forward, because of the Universal Monsters, in my opinion, Frankenstein is the best one. He's got the best essence around him of what you can possibly do because of how great Shelley's novel is. And yet we consistently in Frankenstein adaptations get rote remakes of the original film. It always goes back to the film. Now, do you think that's a cause of our society being more media driven and less literate? Or am I reading way too much into it?
I mean, if I had to guess, I think people tend to want to play in the Frankenstein wheelhouse because of the connection to women. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they invented science fiction. That would be my guess. And also, I don't know that Frankenstein is Frankenstein the most adapted. I would think that that'd be Dracula, wouldn't it?
I thought Frankenstein was, but I could be wrong. Somebody will have to do a count on it. Frankenstein was the most adapted into comic book form.
Dracula video games.
Dracula film, Hammer. They dragged that corpse, no pun intended, all over the place. Snuggy Jr. says, Booberry is better than Frankenberry. Man, I can't even find Frankenberry anymore. I was telling my kids, they didn't believe me it existed. Yeah, you see, all I ever see is Count Chocula and Booberry. But with that being said, what else, man? Anything on these two?
Do not recommend.
I do not recommend either. Like I said, I think possibly Boogeyman, if you're an artist and you're looking for some interesting page layouts, there are some positive moments in Boogeyman. For Frankenstein, man, for $5, that you can go and get so much better stuff for a single issue than that. That is just, I can't believe they're charging that. But
I mean, I would say if you like the art of Boogeyman, just go, get something by Jose Garcia.
That is also true. Yeah, that's a good call, because it is very Jose Garcia-esque. I'll be watching the Boogeyman artist's career with great interest. Yeah, Dejette's done some other stuff, mostly animation, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time on his background because I was not really a big fan of the book.
Yeah, go check out Jet and also the musical genre Gent.
There you go.
That is also really good.
Quiet Media asks, does Blackula count? Because that might put it over the line. Yes. Black.
I think, okay, I could be wrong here, but I think
Vampire in Harlem does not count, though. We're not including that.
I think Blackula actually had one of the first openly homosexual couples in film, as in it was actually recognized on screen.
Don't worry, I'm not laughing at what you just said. I'm laughing at what Henry Bemis implied, which is, man, the term Kojakian sent all this on a tear of esks and Ians. Thank you for noticing. I appreciate.
Oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I should do Vampire in Harlem.
There you go. Vampire in Harlem was whack, says Hostman. Well, yes, it was. I will be dropping the link to if you want to join us in the back room and shoot the proverbial shit. But I do think that'll close it out for this episode. one of the things I love about doing the gutter is I love talking about things that we like. And there are things in both of these books that I liked, but at the same time, not everything you like, you have to purchase. And so that's why I have a no recommend on either one of these. There's some good aspects, but they don't rise to the occasion. I think there's tons of stuff out there that your money is better spent towards. And in fact, I also want to take a moment. There was a individual in the audience of last week's episode, and I don't know if they watched it live or if they watched it on replay. I do know that they were kind enough to point me in the direction of a Gore Shriek Resurrectus cover A and cover B that were on eBay for a buy it now of $20. So I am now the proud owner of cover A and cover B. Well, thank you very much. They asked not to be named, so I will not name them. But thank you very much. I appreciate it. Why you would ever admit to this in public, I don't know, but Broken Compass Comics says, admit I own Blackula and Blu-ray just for the gay couple. He'll be talking about Tarantino-isms next. Interesting fact, behind the scenes, JP and I have been working on developing a gutter AI-generated intro song. Do you have any idea how hard it is for the AI to find words that rhyme with Tarantino-esque? Instead of these, I will be buying Twilight. Yes, that's exactly what I just said. Thank you, person. Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. I got my anti-communist comic from eBay. Yeah, dude, how did that turn out? The Boy Scout anti-communist comic. Look forward to hearing about it. But with that being said, I think we're going to close it out. We've got next week, Frequency Girl and Neff from Global Frequency will be joining us to go over the Ghost Machine book of Hyde Street, which works on a number of different levels. So we're looking forward to that. And then to close out spooky season, pumpkin spice season, we will be doing Matt Wagner and Kelly Jones's Dracula Volume 1. So last thoughts. Anything, JP?
Oh, yeah. I just want to say that I mentioned at the beginning of the show to make sure that you're registered to vote. Well, I'm happy to announce that the Gutter officially is endorsing that controversial candidate that nobody likes.
Yes, that one. Awkward pause. Okay. Have a good night, all. Thanks for joining us.
This is blood for blood and by the gallons. This is the old days and the bad days, the all or nothing days. They're back. There's no choices left.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.